eventually make the planet habitable. That process would take thousands of years, but if it worked, we'd end up with a place in space, just like home. Beyond Mars lies the asteroid belt, billions of fragments of rock that some scientists believe are left over from the birth of the solar system. Fragments are sometimes dislodged from their orbit, traveling as far as the Earth, where they enter the atmosphere and burn up, leaving a bright trace through the sky, a meteorite or a shooting star. Some meteorites make it to the surface. This crater, more than half a mile wide in Arizona, was thought to be caused by a boulder 160 feet across. And in 1972, a huge meteorite grazed the atmosphere. Had this fireball hit the Earth, it would have exploded with the force of 5 atomic bombs. The asteroid belt marks the limit of the inner rocky planets. Go beyond, and size and distance can hardly be conceived in earthly terms. We are now in the realm of the gas giants. Jupiter, named after the king of all Roman gods, is the biggest planet in our solar system. The first sightings of Jupiter led to a revolution in thought. In the 16th century, the Christian church had the fixed idea that humankind and the Earth should be at the center of everything. But the polar scientist Nicholas Copernicus began to believe that the sun, and not the Earth, was the center of the solar system. Fearing reprisals from the church, Copernicus delayed publishing his theories until he was on his deathbed. Made a study of Jupiter and its moons, and it was the orbits of these moons that convinced him that the planets orbited the sun. Facing torture for his radical ideas, he publicly recanted, saying that the Earth is motionless, but in his heart, he believed in an orbiting Earth. His dying words were, "But it does move." 12 more moons of Jupiter have been discovered since Galileo's day, making 16 in all. Everything about Jupiter is on a massive scale. The Earth could fit inside it 1,300 times. It has 2.5 times the mass of all the other planets put together. These real pictures show the giant wind systems that drive gas around the planet in bands, rotating in alternate directions. The Great Red Spot is in fact the eye of an immense hurricane, raging for at least 300 years. Jupiter's rocky core is about twice as big as the Earth, but it's an inferno raging at more than 60,000 degrees Fahrenheit, where hydrogen is compressed until it behaves like metal. If Jupiter was much bigger, the heat and pressure would trigger nuclear fusion. It would no longer be a planet, but a star. In some ways, Jupiter seems to defy our understanding of nature. As befits the Lord of the gods, Jupiter goes its own way. Though Galileo correctly worked out the orbits of the planets, he had no idea how they did it, what kept them there, suspended in space. The answer came to the English scientist Isaac Newton, according to legend, while seated under an apple tree. The apple fell to Earth because of a force which he called gravity. All bodies in space exert this force, and the bigger the body, the greater its gravity. Fired with enough speed, an apple can escape the Earth's gravity and go flying off toward the stars. But at a certain height, the apple remains in balance. Too far to fall, too close to escape. It would go into orbit around the Earth. When Newton discovered gravity, he had discovered the force that keeps the planets orbiting the sun. And it is gravity which creates some of the breathtaking spectacles of astronomy, like the rings of Saturn. These posed another great mystery to early astronomers. Galileo thought he was looking at 3 planets, a large one flanked by 2 smaller ones. Only a more powerful telescope could correctly identify the rings. Though they looked solid, they're made of nothing more than ice cubes, from tiny crystals to lumps the size of a refrigerator. All of the gas giants have rings, but Saturn's are the brightest, easily visible from Earth. Like Jupiter, Saturn is mostly gas. It's a featherweight. The density so low it would float in your bath. If you had one planet-sized. It also has more moons than any other planet. 18 have so far been discovered. The gravity of 2 of them has the effect of braiding the inner ring in a sort of celestial dance. The strange beauty of the planets has led to some fanciful notions. According to Pythagoras, the Greek mathematician, the perfection of the planet's spherical shape must extend to their sound. He believed that the planets sing in their orbits, making the most perfect harmony, the music of the spheres. Many of the great astronomers were also accomplished musicians. William Herschel was a music teacher with only an amateur's interest in astronomy. Outraged by the cost of telescopes, he built one of his own, enabling him in 1781 to discover a whole new planet. He named his new planet Georgius Sidum, after the English king, George III. When the king lost his wits, it was decided that the blameless planet should carry, rather than the name of a mad monarch, the name of a Roman god. Uranus, the personification of heaven, the 7th planet out from the sun. Further observations of the new planet revealed irregularities in its orbit. Scientists worked out that its movements must be caused by another body. In 1846, astronomers finally found the 8th planet exactly where they expected. They named it after the Roman god of the sea, Neptune. Uranus and Neptune are often described as sister planets, even though the 2 gas giants are 10 times more distant from each other than the Earth is from the Sun. Uranus is almost featureless, like a great green billiard ball floating in space. The surface of Neptune is broken by patches of white, clouds and storm systems in the atmosphere. Its blue coloring comes from the presence of methane gas. Just as Neptune has its effect on the orbit of Uranus, an even more distant planet was thought to be affecting the orbit of Neptune. Percival Lowell, an American astronomer, searched the skies, but he didn't spot the planet on his photographs. He was looking for something huge, the size of a gas giant. It was not until 1930 that fuzzy, indistinct pictures finally led to the identification of the 9th planet. It turned out to be a small, rocky planet. It's so distant that even the Hubble Space Telescope can barely see it. The new find caught the public imagination. Suggested names for it included Atlas, Osiris, even Constance after Lowell's wife. Eventually, a name from an 11-year-old schoolgirl from Oxford, England was adopted, Pluto, after the Roman lord of death and god of the underworld. On the very edge of our solar system, Pluto is so far from the sun that it is a cold and barren world. Its thin atmosphere of nitrogen and methane may freeze completely in winter and fall as pale blue snow. It's about as unattractive a place for human life as can be imagined. Although a visit by us is not likely, a round trip from Earth would take at least 30 years. Its single moon, Charon, was not discovered until 1978, and many of the mysteries of Pluto are still out there, waiting to be discovered. Few believe that any planets exist beyond Pluto. At the outermost reaches of the solar system, it is a wasteland of small planetoids. It's the trash dump of the solar system, the pieces left over after the formation of the planets finally came to rest. Beyond the edge of our solar system is the vast emptiness of deep space. Light from the sun takes 5.5 hours to reach here, but it takes over 4 years to reach the next closest star. And the furthest known star in the universe is a staggering 15 billion light years away. Our Earth once seemed the center of the universe, bigger than the sun. Now we know that it's but a tiny blue gem, floating in space and time.